Chainsaw Man, a series that I watched back in 2022. Back then, if you told me I would go to the cinema for a sequel in the form of a movie, I probably wouldn't believe you, but here we are. First, I want to tell you how I felt about this movie and what kind of experience I had. Then, I will give you my full review, so let's begin. Me and Flore took it really seriously and wanted to have the best experience possible. Maybe you think we went to IMAX like we did for Demon Slayer, but no, this time something even funnier happened. I saw that in Japan you can buy a Pochita Popcorn Bucket at the movie premiere, but you cannot buy it here, so I decided to model it and print it myself. That way, we could also have Pochita in our local cinema and eat popcorn from Pochita. Here, you can see the clips of how we even strapped him, so nothing would happen to him. I have to say that this small detail really helped the atmosphere, and because the whole audience was super into the movie, watching it with my own Pochita gave everything an extra good mood.
But why is Denji acting so weirdly around the girls? Because he had non-normal human interaction while he was little. Denji grew up in crushing poverty after inheriting his father's debt to Yakuza, leaving him with nothing but Pochita to survive. He lived like a homeless, sold his organs for money, and ate whatever scraps he finds. He never went to school, never had friends, and never experienced normal family interactions. His entire childhood was about survival, not growing up, which left him emotionally undeveloped and totally unprepared for normal social situations later in life. So, the first time Makima shows him some kind of interest, Denji feels something he never felt before.
Now, let's talk about the movie. First thing I want to highlight is this. I love when anime movies keep their original openings. I appreciate it so much. For example, in Attack on Titan, when we got the final episode, the final season, the final chapter, last episode, whatever, it kinda bothered me that there was no opening, but here, bang, right at the start, an amazing introduction. It felt similar to Demon Slayer, where Aimer's music played. And eating popcorn out of Pochita while seeing characters like Eki, Power and everyone again, that was pure peak for me. By the way, if you also have a 3D printer, I will put the link in the description so you can be prepared for the next movie too. The pacing of the movie really felt good to me. The first half is a little slower, but I didn't mind it at all. In fact, I even enjoyed those slow moments, and they pulled me into the story. I want to highlight one scene from the first half. When Denji and Makima go to the cinema on their little date, it's such a beautiful commentary on what modern movie audiences are like today. And in the cinema scene, there's also one scene that is important to the finale. I don't want to skip ahead, so let's continue. The first half takes its time building the characters, and it really shows how much they care about that. And then Reze appears, and from that moment, it becomes a total bomb. Yeah, bad joke. But honestly, I think it was done super well, and the story kept moving nicely. Of course, I can't skip the pool scene. That scene was absolute peak, especially with those Instagram edits people made.
Yo, what the fuck?
I can teach you everything.
What the?
But seriously, it worked extremely well on the big screen, especially in a crowded cinema. There is also that nice metaphorical shot of the spider web. I understood it in the cinema as a symbol for Denji and Reze, but online I heard theories that the whole web represents Makima. Either way, during my first watch, I understood it in my own way. Then we get the fake villain, who Reze takes out quickly, and obviously none of us expected a cute happy story the whole time. So you can already feel things starting to shift. But I like how natural this change feels. It's not forced. Because of that, the upcoming twist during the fireworks works even better. I didn't read the manga, so I didn't know what exactly was going to happen. I expected something like it, but the way they executed it was absolutely stunning. Total chills when that kiss happens, and the fireworks behind them make the whole moment feel so scary and beautiful at the same time. Then it moves into the action-heavy second half. By the way, I have to praise Beam. What an amazing funny element. He literally saves Chainsaw Man. During this whole sequence, the music reminded me so much of Alien, and I don't know if it was on purpose. Based on Reze's helmet, I would guess maybe yes, but I thought it was very cool and it fit perfectly. Did anyone else get those Alien vibes from the music too? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of cool visuals, I also loved how they used that intense cyberpunk style into the trailers for this section. It looked awesome. Back to the story. The shark rescues Chainsaw Man and everything becomes more intense. Then we get a completely wild action half, which sometimes almost feels like one giant animated mess, but in a good way. I love the mix of music, especially that moment where the tone changes completely and fits the scene perfectly. Visually, this movie is insane. Maybe even more than it is necessary. I actually feel bad for the animators. They even reference them in the fight scene, because the apartment block shown in the fight is apparently Mappa headquarters. Another small detail I really appreciate are those POV shots. They add a whole extra layer to the animation. After all the chaos, the movie calms down again and finishes Reze's story arc, which I found very strong. The ending feels deeply connected to the pool scene and you really want things to go well, because you see that Denji hasn't learned anything at all, and you hope for a different outcome. The white shots on the beach look incredibly cinematic and create a grounded contrast to the visuals madness before. And then, bang! Makima ruins everything. The ending was heartbreaking and really sad. You want Denji to turn around, but the author doesn't let that happen, leaving you sitting in your seat, suffering along with him. If I had to sum it up, the Chainsaw Man Reze Arc movie is honestly amazing. For me, it even surpasses the quality of Season 1 and gets me way more hyped for the future. It also made me want to explore the whole franchise more. Of course, it has its negatives. For example, I unlocked a new fear thanks to the tank scene. Thank you. Also, this kind of humor isn't for everyone, and during the action part, some people might feel a bit lost, because the tone shifts a lot and it gets really crazy. Going from a cute date to a god tier battle with characters flying through buildings and riding a shark is definitely not going to work for everyone. But for me, it was an absolutely fantastic experience. It shows that this series still has so much potential to grow, and the best thing is, even if you haven't seen the anime, the movie takes your hand and guides you without any problem. It's complete, it's clear, and it stands on its own. And it can excite new viewers as well as long-time fans. So for me, a must-see, and one of the best examples of how an anime movie should look for both old fans and new fans. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!